So, first thing is uh kick it off. Brooks.
Alrighty. All right. Am I audible? I see the
Wow.
Discord lighting up, so I believe so. So yes, hello everyone. The biggest thing for this thing to start off with is I have actually made the big choice to move to Ponderware full time. Um, I've been in the crypto space, if you've known me, both outside of Ponderware and inside of it. Uh, I've been in the software development industry as a professional for over a decade now, but now have been in the crypto space since about 2014 and have been working in it part time and have now with the seeing how the industry has been going with the advancements in DeFi and NFTs and all of the enhancements going around in the culture and adoption taking off there. I was extended an opportunity by the rest of the team at Ponderware to switch to being full time, and I've decided to jump in on that. So very excited to be moving towards that. My final day at my current Web 2 job is March 30th, and I just actually told the rest of my team that late last week. So now starting to move forward and making this official of yes, I'm making that switch. And so therefore in April and onwards, I will be full time on the Ponderware team. And my role will continue to be focused on MoonCats on the Ponderware team. And yes, GravBall is going to be the first priority for that as I'm moving into April. So yes, all of the things that I have done up until this point have been part-time development, working with as a couple of the other Ponderware staff have been moving to full-time, and now I'm excited to be joining them, doing it full-time as well. And so we'll get into the plans right now as GravBall is coming together. So we'll talk first about just some of the structure of what we're actually creating as a product. If you're new to this or wanting a refresher of what we've shared so far, the idea for what Ponderware is creating with the Gravity Ball, GravBall game is to be a game to be done with your MoonCat. And this version will require you to have a loot print. The loot prints for MoonCat's asset, which was the other companion NFT drop that we did, which is a representation of a spaceship that your MoonCat will need for this. And for the structure, the setup of it, we will be using the purse capability of your MoonCat able to hold other NFTs that your MoonCat will need to be the one holding the loot print in order to enter the game. And for this one, the effect of the game is that it's a sort of a idle game or a simulation sort of a game that you, as the owner of a MoonCat, let your MoonCat go enter the game. And so, from a technical perspective, that would be staking your MoonCat. They leave your possession and go enter the game. And then the MoonCat is actually the one who is playing the game. And hence, they need the loot print to be able to pilot around in the game. And we're taking a bunch of inspiration from uh, other idle or simulation games that taking that inspiration of the MoonCat is the one who's actually doing the game, and it's a fun thing to do while your MoonCat is staked. Something to do as an optional thing for the MoonCat to do while they're outside of your wallet. Uh,
And we sort of envision this as one of several options that you will
mhm.
have to stake your moon ZooDAO is still upcoming. There is staking to earn on Niftex currently. This is going to not be the only solution, but we definitely want people to look at it as a solution to, hey, can I stake my mooncat and do something with it?
Yep, definitely. And that's so yeah, approaching this as a game, but also as how Ponderware is thinking about things. Ponderware, where we're focusing on innovation and making sure, looking at the rest of the space and trying to figure out, are there holes that our product can fill? We're looking at this as a platform of the same way that the boutique sort of allowed for other people to come in and become designers and it wasn't just Ponderware who's designing accessories, we're thinking ahead to how can this GravBall game be also a platform. So phase one is just recording who wants to play, which from a more common nomenclature would probably be otherwise referred to as just staking, of moving the MoonCat from one place to another and recording the fact that it has moved. And then the next phase will be, okay, now that it has moved, let's play a game. And the main thing that we're focusing on with this is, like the other things that Ponderware has done, making sure that as much of it as possible is on chain information. So a lot of the structure that I'm working on right now and the planning that the whole team is going into of what this game will be is providing as much of the information about the game state and the game progress and what's happened to the game as possibilities on chain that could be used by other projects and doing whatever they wish to it, whether that's awarding prizes or deciding other factors based on what happened in the games.
And I think sometimes there is a slight disconnect of when we as Ponderware staff say game and maybe what the expectation is from the community. This is not going to be like Mario or Zelda or, Horizon, where you are in an environment and moving around and interacting with things. This is sort of more like Ball, and I don't know how many people in the audience have played Ball, but it will be um there's no like graphics engine behind this. It's not being built on Unity. This is strictly smart contracts for the
hmm
moment.
Yeah, and so yeah, the inspiration we've been getting was towards Ball as that idea of a virtual game that's being played and you are observing, and also sort of the experience of being a manager of a fantasy sports league will be more the experience that we're looking towards of this. And we'll get a little more into it as we get towards the what the user experience will be like, but the idea of that most of what you would do, you as users would take actions between the games, looking backwards on what has happened and taking actions before the next game starts.
And of
Get back.
course,
Yep.
with all things MoonCats, we are doing as much future proofing as possible. So if everybody on Ponderware got on a plane and the plane was shot down by Russia, all of this stuff would still be usable.
hmm Yeah, and so that idea of once we have the ability to play something and record something, that phase three idea would be Ponderware would be the ones to start, sponsoring and be the first ones to use this platform, but then actually working with other teams and other platforms and other applications to figure out is there ways that this can be interacted with outside of Ponderware with that same idea of we don't need to be the sole sponsor of these utility or of these games that we can actually use this platform for other things, for other community things, for other projects. All right. So to get into so that's somewhat the technical piece here. The other piece that's also very important for the MoonCat ecosystem is what this looks like in lore. Um, and so just for a moment of flipping over to that side, let's have a little story time with Midnight of what how this actually came to be in the MoonCat universe. And so this came about of as we as Ethereans have been getting to know the Mooncats more, recognizing that oh yes, they have been spacefaring creatures that they did live on the moon, and that they are quite comfortable on the moon and in space. And we learned from them that the moon kittens, as just a fun game to play around, moon kittens being also felines, love to bat around balls of yarn, and I would often take them up into space or bat them around on the moon. But there are no tables on the moon to knock things off of, and so felines being felines who like to knock things around, when you're surrounded by other friends and siblings who also have yarn balls, kids being kids, will them away from each other. And of course, it became a game where you try to bat your opponent's balls back down to the surface of the moon so they have to go get them while keeping your own ball up in the comfort of space. And so that became just a children's game that the Moon Kittens played. But as the culture grew, the Mooncats grew up, and it actually grew as a sport as well. And so on the moon, Mooncats who had grown actually did become professional athletes, and more robust rules grew around the idea of GravBall. This idea of there you have a ball and your opponents have some yarn balls, and you can try and get your opponent's balls out of the play field. Adult mooncats were able to do things on a bit more regulated scale and also around bigger gravity wells, whereas moon kittens might only be able to do so in the lighter gravity of the moon. Adult mooncats would do so around possibly bigger things like a star or possibly even a black hole, as a way to have a much quicker match. If you batted your opponent's ball towards a black hole, it's very quickly not going to be around anymore for that. So that has been a cultural piece that we've learned that the Mooncats have enjoyed playing sports. But where this actually intersected recently was we know the other project that's been going on is with the scientists who have been studying the deep space research centers, trying to figure out some of these ancient technologies that they've found one of which allowed as the MoonCats who have now been rescued onto the blockchain, who are now these digital beings as well as able to interact with Ethereans. They need a different sort of transport. These spaceships being able to hybrid between a physical space and a digital space is a very special sort of technology. And as the scientists are trying to translate these loot prints into actual ships, they've been running simulations within their computer systems. And when the MoonCats saw them running the simulations of these loot print prototypes running around in virtual space just doing blase obstacle courses, they of course had a suggestion of their own. Why not, instead of just doing obstacle courses, let's play a game of GravBall with them. And so that's where we're at now, is we are converting the game of GravBall, which has been played by the MoonCats just as themselves in space, into one where we can help test the simulated loot prints and be contributing towards the deep space research, and also give MoonCats something fun to do. So they are going to be piloting their simulated spaceships to be able to be batting around the balls of yarn in the virtual space within the deep space stations.
If we don't entertain these cats, just things get knocked off of the chain station tables.
Oh, indeed.
It's bad. It's bad. Trust us. Trust us. They need this.
And so that piece of, yes, the initial games here will be that's where we get the concept of you as a Etherean, as an owner or as a coach necessarily of your MoonCat aren't actually the ones playing the game. You'll be there to help and encourage, but your MoonCat is going to be the one at the controls piloting the loot print ship to do these things. And so you've seen this. This was a leaked bit of code, and it seems like, yeah, most of the tidbits that people gleaned out of it were accurate. The sorts of things we wanted to share with it. You did find out that yes, the plan for how these games will be structured is they are a team sport, and so MoonCats win or lose as a team. And so there will be a red ball, a green ball, and a blue ball, and a red team and a blue team and a green team responsible for each. Your MoonCat's color will determine which team you are on. And as you can see, as several people noted from the code, because we're only picking 3 teams, it's possible for a MoonCat to be right exactly between 2 of the colors. When you have, with one team being red and one team being green, that means if a MoonCat's color is exactly between the 2 of those, that would be a yellow color. And not just any yellow, but a yellow that's sitting exactly in the middle of the yellow range. And so there will actually be a few MoonCats that, if they are sitting exactly in that very fine point there of exactly between red and green, they will have the option of choosing, do you want to be on the red team or the green team? Everybody else, if you are closer to one of the colors, that will be your team. That's your option to pick from. And as we noted, the Genesis MoonCats and the Hero Silver ones will be able to pick any of their teams. They're the pinch hitters that they can go wherever they wish. The one thing that's not been in this code that's planned for how this is going to be implemented, those hinted at in the UI piece, is that your MoonCats has a personality as well, and that's going to be determined by the other attributes of your MoonCat, which could be pose, expression, and or coat pattern. And that personality of your MoonCat is going to determine whether, when you as a coach tell them to do something, if they're actually going to be in agreement with that or not. And so this, as sort of an inspiration for games like Dwarf Fortress or other similar sorts of things where you as a director give a instruction to the person who's actually playing, but they might actually choose to do something slightly different. And of course, cats being cats, there's also a very small chance that they will see something shiny and completely ignore the game entirely and not actually have an effect on the game. That should hopefully be pretty rare.
Yeah, as fun and funny as we may find cats being chaotic, we recognize that there is a point where that is going to be kind of annoying. And so we kind of want to balance sort of that occasional chaos and occasional entertainment value with I did in fact pick a behavior that my cat prefers, and they still wandered off to play with some Stardust. What's up with that?
And so, yes, with that, um, in terms of aptitude to play GravBall, all MoonCats will be generally equally skilled, although Genesis cats are more prone to being better athletes, and so will have a natural boost as well. However, it's the directives that you give as a coach. If not all cats will do each role on a team, offense or defense, equally well. And so, yes, finding the natural inclination of your MoonCat would help you as a coach be able to have a good outcome for helping coach them in the game.
So you can stack a team and hope you get sort of the right conditions. And there are going to likely be arenas where that is possible and encouraged. But there is also something to be said about teams that are well balanced. And so, do you, as a MoonCat owner, hold multiple MoonCats with multiple lootprints and be ready for a changing situation? Based on the rules for that particular arena, or do you go out and say, "Hey, I have a pure coat shy MoonCat that's pouncing, and I need someone on my team who is a smiling tabby because they will help balance my weaknesses." And so we want to leave lots of sort of options on the table for players to sort of find the gameplay style that works for their team.
Hmm. Yep, and that fits into the idea of if for the ones who are wanting to take action while a game is going on, making sure that even if there is some uh, randomness to how the game is going to play out, that people will be able to see, oh, wait, yeah, this team has a lot of this particular aspect and is needing this. Let's go poll the community and see, hey, can we quick find some other MoonCat to help bolster up our team because it seems like we're currently lacking this thing, sort of a thing would be some of the roles that can happen during the game. And so, yeah, this code and these broad ideas are what we're going to be starting with and is the plan for the moment. But that also, as mentioned, we're building this as a platform that can grow to be additional things. One of the things you may have noticed in the code base that we're talking about, the initial set will only have 3 teams, but in all of the other, in the code, you can actually see there's slots for up to 8 teams. So like we're building the platform out to be able to think into the future if we want to have more teams on the pitch at the same time. Different rule sets could allow that. And also thinking smart contract ways of getting if looking at the other on-chain data, like what accessories a MoonCat has, what other NFTs the MoonCat has, like MoonCat Pop, or other NFTs from even other collections if we wish to. But looking at different aspects can be baked into future projects, and that will also be influenced by the community of what people find interesting to go on these as well.
And so, the one thing that we really want to do is very much like the boutique. We want to be able to give the power of matchmaking to the community. So if you have a really specific subset of rules that is the kind of gameplay you want to see and play in, we definitely want to equip you in the future to craft those sort of matches. And we are definitely looking at things of like, hey, what if another historical NFT comes along and wants to sponsor a match, and you have to either own that second NFT, or you have to have an accessory that's been designed after that NFT, and the grand prize for that match will be an NFT from that collection. And we want to be able to open up GravBall to sort of other collections if they sort of want to cross the streams, so to speak.
Hmm.
So we have a lot of ideas. It is definitely going to take time to implement everything. So we are definitely narrowing scope for launch, knowing that there is going to be time for us to continue developing on GravBall post-release.
Hmm.
So if this stuff all sounds really exciting and you don't see it at launch, don't panic. This stuff will all kind of be coming down the line. And we are definitely going to be looking to our beta testers for the things that they think would be most interesting to add first, and sort of think about our priorities based off of feedback that we get from the community and particularly from the beta testers.
All right. So looking from the structure of how the game actually works to looking at what would your experience be as sort of a user, what you will be likely needing to do to actually get involved in this. So to look for what the experience will be like as a Etherean who owns a MoonCat, the first step would be to get the MoonCat into the chain station jump port, which is our moniker for the staking area within the Ethereum mainnet to do so. Our goal is that this would need to only happen once, that action of moving the MoonCat from your wallet to this separate location would then enable you to jump to different applications, the first of which will be the GravBall game, but then you wouldn't need to re-stake yourself between each GravBall game. You would just then be able to move forward into other apps there. The jump port itself would allow you to withdraw at any time unless you are already into a GravBall match. And so we're separating that logic piece out, where your first action is to move into the jump port, your MoonCat walking to that area of the space station. If that's all they do, you don't have to, or you could then withdraw immediately if you wish to. But then if you wish to take the second action, which is to register to play a GravBall match, that would be a second action you'll take within the Ethereum mainnet. Yeah, MoonCats, while they are digital, they can only be in one place at a time in the GravBall pitch, so they'll be only in one match at a time. But we may have multiple matches going on at the same time. And that will be the point of, if you've taken that second action, now that MoonCat would be locked into position and would be unable to be transferred back to yourself until that match had ended. We're looking at right now, this action would be one to actually move to an L2, where then subsequent actions would be on the L2 and therefore be at a different gas savings. We've been investigating a bunch of different L2 options for this. Right now, Arbitrum is one that's winning out as an option for us to, from Ponderware's side, being comfortable with the safety of always being able to get your MoonCat back if something were to happen to the L2 system itself. And in this case, it could also be something that happens still on L1, as we're looking to develop. The first version might still happen on L1, but then we're building everything to be modular enough that it could very easily transition to having the subsequent parts be on an L2. So after you as an owner have taken those first two actions, someone needs to sponsor a new GravBall match. To start with, Ponderware would be the one to kick off when a new match starts, and that would indicate when the actual pitch opens for players to enter. There would be a third action then that you would take as a coach to enter your MoonCat into the particular match. And as mentioned, well, Ponderware would start the initial season out, but we're anticipating that this would be something that other sponsors would be welcome and encouraged in the future to do. And the fact that each match is separate means that the rule sets that run and the playing field and what effects the field itself has on the play style could be different for every single match. And that's where we're right now looking of the type of loot print that you have and the different possibilities and the actual factors that go into how they affect the MoonCat's ability. As we play out the first season of GravBall, we're anticipating a couple of different playing fields where different loot print types might have different effects on it.
So I think most of you have seen this. This may change ever so slightly. This is like the pre-alpha build of what sort of like your locker room might look like once you have entered the jump port.
Mm-hmm.
So these are 5 MoonCats that are staked into the jump port, and 3 of them have entered games. There has been a lot of theory crafting around this, which has been really fun for us to sort of look at and see where people are guiding towards. And so, yes, I'm excited to dive into this.
Excellent. And so once a game has started and you have indicated that you wish your MoonCat to be part of it, as we have talked about, the role that you as an Ethereum would play is you are a coach, or you could also see it as like you are the owner of the team. If you think of typical sports teams, if the owner came to watch their team play, once the actual game has started, they actually don't have much that they can do. However, as a coach, you may also be able to throw helpful suggestions at your team as they're there. So we're guiding the possibilities here that you can do it as a set it and forget it. Enter your MoonCats in and just let them play their way through and see how things go, which would be more of a way if people are most interested in just staking and letting it be and not needing to be checking in too frequently as an option for them, or ones who can be watching moment by moment of, even while the game is in progress, While the game is in progress, what you will be able to see is mostly possibilities. And you can see, oh, if odds are not going in your favor or your team's favor, that you can try and tweak things and find some of those things to possibly nudge things in a different direction before the game ends. And of course, you can pick a little bit of both if you want to for that. And so the actual how to win the match or when the game is decided, yes, each team has one yarn ball. Their goal as offensive players would be trying to push their ball away from the gravity source, trying to get their own ball as far away, which would be to safety, as possible. Defensive players would be going after the other team's yarn balls and trying to knock them toward the gravity well. And if a ball falls past the point of no return, that team is out of the game. So it's possible, and indeed, the gravity well being at one end of the pitch is why it's called GravBall. And so it's possible for a team to get knocked out of the game if their ball is completely eliminated. And in that case, it's a game of whoever's the last ball standing wins. However, if time runs out, then it can also be whichever ball is the furthest out is the victor of that. I'll get that one through there. Yep. We can advance through that one there.
I put a lot of pauses on this one because I thought I would click through it too fast. So yeah, sorry guys. Let me just.
There we go. I talked a little fast through that one. So yes, we'll be able to tell. So while the game is in progress, what we'll be able to see as Ethereans will likely be odds of things happening, and each action will be affecting the odds of it. So again, kind of the touchstone that we've been using for what the experience may be like is more similar to like watching a game of poker on TV, where they often give an overlay of, oh, in this particular situation, this player has a 70% chance of winning. Oh, but then something changed and now they only have a 20% chance of winning. And even if they have a very slight chance of winning, it's very possible that when the last bell rings, they actually do win. So it's possible for, even though the odds are not in your favor, that the team could win who's actually got the odds against them. And so after a match is concluded, then we'll be able to see lots of details about the game. Again, similar to a fantasy sport sort of a thing, or a Blazeball sort of retrospective look at what has happened in the match, including which team won. Not an individual victor for this one, but we will be able to see what different MoonCats did, if any of them had some notable plays in the game, so the possibility of a most valuable cat could definitely be a possibility there.
And I mean, we definitely want that MVC to sort of go to participants who are actively participating. So we are definitely looking at the way we reward the match in general, how we reward MVC, how we reward larger tournament plays. That is something that we want to all feel very fair. So that is something that we're going to be, I think, playing around with quite a bit in the beta. And the values in beta may rapidly change. And the values very likely will change from season to season as we sort of see what rewards make sense for each type of game. So this is something that, we are definitely committing a lot of time to retrospectives on, and we are not opposed to tweaking things. And we really want to make sure that it is fun, because capturing that ephemeral fun factor can be challenging, but we want to make it right.
All right, so taking a moment here to just talk about staking in general, just in case, staking is a term that has become more commonly used in the cryptocurrency space. But just if you're not familiar with it, or just to make sure we're all on the same page of when we say staking, what are we actually meaning for this? The idea of staking is that you take an asset and move it to another holding zone. For this particular project that we're working on, we've actually taken the idea of separating the holding zone separate from the logic of the game itself. That's one where we've looked at a lot of different projects who have also been implementing staking or farming for their projects. And for a lot of those, the lockbox or the holding area is the same place as the thing that's, some sort of an action, whether it's some sort of reward or some game that you can play. It's the same thing. We're wanting to separate that out into having just a holding area, because then that can be used by other things other than just Ponderware. So the starting spot, which we're calling just the jump port, is where you go to be separate from your own personal wallet, which is a way to show that it is no longer intrinsically owned by you, and it means that all of the marketplaces would not see it as owned by you and therefore can't be sold. And that has some just community benefits of being able to signal as kind of a indirect way of saying, oh yeah, I'm not selling this MoonCat. It's not up for sale. I am using it right now. And you can see that on chain because I actually moved it to this other location and it is now out of my possession and is over here doing something else.
For those of you who own a MoonCats moments, you have already seen how this works, where you can see in your purse that you own one or more memories. But when you go to OpenSea, it is not in your wallet, it is held in a separate contract. That is the way this is going to work. And I know the immediate question that is going to pop up for people is, if it takes it out of my wallet, how do I prove I'm a MoonCat holder? That is a problem that we are going to have to solve. So know that that is on our minds in terms of things like Collabland and just in general swiggity swag that you want to show people that you own a MoonCat in your wallet. We have some experience in creating NFTs that are non-saleable and non-transferable. Not to say trust us, we know what we're doing, but for the short term, while we hammer out these details, please, a small amount of grace. Trust us, we know what we're doing. And thank you for having faith in us. We know that we are throwing a lot of ifs and maybes, and this is how it's going to work, even though it might change a little bit before it hits you guys. Know that your faith in that we are good stewards of the MoonCat ecosystem, and we are truly building something that will last long term, even if it takes a little bit longer than some people would like it to. Thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you from the whole team. So, all right, moving on.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, and as part of that, it's an interesting position to be in, as the Ponderware team is places an emphasis on being innovative and also being long-term thinking about it, as we overlap with a lot of other projects on an open blockchain. It's very easy to see what other projects are doing, but then we're also needing to evaluate, is that actually in line with what we're trying to have as a goal here, and how can we potentially take it even a step further. And in this case, yep, we're taking that idea of, let's split apart the application logic from the staking logic so that we can actually offer that as a separate piece. And so taking the time to evaluate those sorts of things, of rather than making a carbon copy duplicate of, hey, this other thing over there was fun, let's do that. It's okay, yes, let's take that and let's analyze what made it fun, what made it good, and let's take it the next step further and help grow the space rather than just making another clone of something. And so on that space of, yes, noticing what other projects are doing, we know that ZooDAO is also working on an application that will involve staking, to the idea of you indicate that your MoonCat is participating in their app. We've not actually seen their technical piece yet. So they've been saying they're trying to work on making it be interoperable. And so we'll be continuing to work with them to figure out how that could work. But we don't know right now how that would work to both be in ZooDAO and in GravBall. That'll be forthcoming soon, hopefully.
So that being said, the sort of staking contract, the jump port, as we're sort of calling it, we definitely want that to be accessible to multiple projects. We basically want that as the proof of staking, ironically. We want anybody, any project, any game to be able to look at that staking contract and say, yes, a MoonCat is in there and fulfills whatever requirements we have of it. So for example, for GravBall, it's lootprint inside MoonCat. We will let you into our game. Here you go. And so obviously along that lines, if you feel there are projects out there that would be interested in utilizing our staking contract to pull MoonCats into their ecosystem, game, experience, et cetera, My DMs are always open. We are always looking for interesting partnerships. So you can reach out to me and say, hey, X project is working on something, or you can go out to X project and say, hey, MoonCats has a staking contact where you can prove that you own a MoonCat and a Flurby Derby. Is that something that you guys might be interested in for your Flurby Derby game? And put them in touch with me. We are exploring a lot of partnerships, but we are always having our door open for other ideas.
Hmm. Oh, and on that piece of, yes, it's the staking aspect of it is where we are focusing first. On the previous slide we talked about, like, yeah, the first phase of it is to get staking to work, which that's not the game part. It may not be the most flashy part. But it is a critical part to get the foundation piece there. And we'll be, of course, putting as much lore into it as we can and making it very fun. But yeah, it'll be the first step, not actually the game, of just moving your MoonCat to the proper position first. Oh yeah, just to the idea of, in general, why communities across the blockchain space have been putting some emphasis on staking as a term and why it's a general term. I touched on it briefly, of because it's out of your wallet and it's therefore not available to be on any of the NFT marketplaces. It's a slight reduction in volume on marketplaces, and so it's an indication that's on chain and can therefore be seen by everyone of what a community is doing and how active a community is. Uh, a NFT just at rest in a wallet that hasn't moved for X amount of time might be an indication that a person is a long-term holder, or it might be an indication that someone forgot their key. So moving a asset to a specific staking area is a slightly more explicit signal of, oh yeah, I'm active and I'm doing stuff with my NFT. I enjoy it and I'm using it. I'm not just forgetting about it, or it's not just languishing in a corner somewhere. And so, yes, the intention of the most of the staking contracts have to then make some sort of requirement of when can you get it back. Some of them take an approach of like a time lock, if you cannot withdraw your asset until a certain amount of time has passed. Some allow it at any time, but then you forego some rewards. The way that we're approaching the GravBall one would be, once you have chosen to enter a GravBall game, then your MoonCat is locked in place until that game has ended. And right now we're looking at games would be on the order of days, not months long. And so, yes, it will be stuck in place for some amount of time, and still massaging when the data on how long that could be. But that's the approach that we're taking at the moment.
The one thing that we are definitely taking care to include in the staking contract is an emergency exit, which is if the L2 that we have decided to roll up on Arbitrum, Matic, somewhere else, has like a catastrophic contract failure or has like a major hack. We want to be sure that we can call all of the MoonCats that are in games back out. That is like a catastrophic emergency exit. You will not be able to DM Midnight or I and go, I need to sell my MoonCat for rent. Can you pull it out of the GravBall game that is intended to go on for another 4 days? Because the answer will be no, we have no way of doing that.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
also, big shout out to Tustus for making all of the graphics for this presentation. He had like an absolutely insane weekend and still managed to bang out a ton of work for us. And this graphic drives me crazy because every time I see this Our Fleet Grows, I keep like having to resist the urge to lick my finger and scrub on my screen. And I don't know how he does it. It's magic. I'm just like, oh, what's wrong with my screen? No, it's not coming up. Oh, right. It's part of that graphic. Thanks.
The lovely texture.
So now we jump into where we are in terms of GravBall development and our release timeline.
So as mentioned, yeah, the first part of it needs to be the staking contract, the place to put your MoonCat to start things off. And so that'll be the first piece. That right now we're developing these things in pieces, as mentioned, as a feature. And so the goal is for the first part will be just that staking part, and we'll be able to release that relatively soon. Yes,
2 to 4 weeks.
yes. And the main functionality of when that is out, the key thing you'd be able to do is simply move your MoonCat to it. The nice thing is the way that we're building this to basically have it be on-chain metadata of when you moved the thing to it, is that will then be starting the timer or on-chain record of, hey, you moved it in the moment it became available, even before the game itself was available. That will be an on-chain record. And we could then any distributions or rewards for who's participating on those things could happen into the future. Could happen far into the future, as people care about what happened way back when GravBall started. Uh, but that first piece of it'll be recording the metadata of who is there and allow MoonCats to come and go into that separate space, separate from your wallet. And then once that is stable, we'll be looking to the next phase of both the lootprint spaceships. We know there has been the issue with the Looks Rare marketplace that is a bad interaction between their contract and the lootprint's contract. We have identified that issue, and which is why we turned off access on Looks Rare for the time being. Next focus would be making sure that the lootprints are as stable as possible. We'll need to get those multi-dimensional spaceships getting as robust as possible, and then being able to that will then allow us to actually construct these ships that they can go beyond blueprints to actually being their ships will be the next phase of their existence.
Can we roll my loot print? It kind of 3-bay cruiser.
Reroll that one. We need to re-randomize that one.
You got so many 5-bay mechs. I'm just saying, rub a little bit of your RNG on my MoonCat, please.
Only, yeah. Talk more nicely to the random number generator. Yep. And then with that, after those pieces are in place, then we'll be actually able to play the matches. So we'll start by choosing some beta testers. And right now, the beta testers we'll be picking from will be ones who are active community members. And a way that we'll see, are you an active community member, will be the ones who have MoonCats, Lootprints, and MoonCat Pops as an active signal that you're interested in helping us out here. If you are interested in that, yep, you can start gathering those. We'll be starting to gather people who are ready and willing to be taking the first crack at things as soon as they're ready, very soon.
Hint, there's a meme contest going on right now where the winner gets a 6-pack of MoonCat Pop. That's definitely a coincidence.
There's a nice way to acquire that entry ticket. And so, the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about where we talked about the contracts being multiple little pieces. And so this idea of it's growing over time, and that if the beta test has issues or whatnot, our goal is, as mentioned, even in a sense of a catastrophic failure, that we would actually fail safe and actually you'd still get your MoonCats back out of it, and that we would continue the lore and continue the tweaking there to figure out, oh yes, something unusual happened in that match. We'll react to it. It'll be part of the story, and the next match will be different, and we'll continue to improve upon that. Then once things are looking good, then we'll be actually able to open it up for the rest of the community, and planning to then have our inaugural season of multiple GravBall matches leading up to some final grand finale of the entire community. And as we're starting to plan for those, starting to think about, yes, what sorts of rewards and things can be in place for that season as we get all of the community involved and being able to have some fun with each other and play some friendly competitions.
So I know there's been sort of a lot of discussion about the whitelist opportunities that we've proffered for MoonCat owners. We've done a couple. We're not tied to any specific sort of guidelines in terms of how we put out whitelists. You had a ton of time and a lot of slots for Starcade. You had significantly less time and a no notification for Envoverse. We have another whitelist coming that is going to have sort of a medium between those two, slightly more slots, but a significantly reduced time to mint off of it. So know that we are definitely looking at potentially tying whitelisting prizes to GravBall, but that is one of many prizes we have on the table. We are looking at potentially one-of-one accessories or a team set of accessories, sort of special things that make sense in terms of the MoonCats ecosystem, packages of MoonCats, loot prints, NFTs from other projects, some sort of token, straight up ETH. We are probably going to be playing around quite a bit in the first 6 months of GravBall in terms of what prizes are interesting to the community, and where you guys see the value.
Indeed.
So at the end of our Ponderware Presents a couple of weeks ago, where we sort of talked about the start of 2022 and the things that we had been doing for the first couple of months and the things that we were looking ahead to do, you guys put forward quite a number of questions, and I said that I would have to double check and get back to you guys. I've double checked. I'm getting back to you guys. So one of the things in particular that came up, no, there we go. Uh, so we had a lot of questions about like, how are these contracts going to work? Are they going to be upgradable? Are they going to be modular? Had a lot of sort of real specifics in terms of tech. And so Midnight, do you kind of want to explain a little bit how
Sure.
that's going to work?
And so that one, will they be upgradable? And so it's like, yes, in a sense, but when this gets back to in the general blockchain sense, when there is a generic term which has been passed around that from a smart contract perspective, it's possible to make a contract be what's called an upgradable proxy. Uh, and for that particular one, we're not planning to use an upgradable proxy structure for these smart contracts. Instead, the way that we are planning to allow upgrades or changes or modifications in the future is, as I kind of alluded to, separating the things into lots of littler pieces. And so the main lockbox contract would be set with its logic. But then as each individual GravBall game starts, if we find, we run a game and it turns out to not be balanced in any way, and some team just has a complete, blowout victory, and we found out, oh yes, that was not fair, and we wish to change that, we actually will have the capability to redeploy a new set of rules, and then future games would use the new sets of rules. And so, in that sense, yes, they will be able to upgrade and change. But the term that might be a more broadly used across the blockchain space of is it an upgradable proxy? No, we're not planning to use that technology.
Um,
And effect for that of
Go ahead.
wanting to make sure that it's not an upgradable proxy, then has the risk for all assets that are within it. If the new logic doesn't actually work, then there's more of a risk of the actual thing not working. And so we're trying to do that for minimizing the risk while still maximizing the ability to change and grow with those.
And I mean, if you guys sort of want a practical example of how these sort of micro contracts work, you can actually look at the MoonCats on chain, which is broken down into 6 different contracts, to sort of give you an idea. And we touched upon this. There was a lot of questioning about, is there going to be multiple GravBall games going on at once? Yes, but one MoonCat, one game. Turns out cats have really small attention spans. And of course, the question that we're always getting all the time, token when. Yes, but not at launch. And here is sort of the ongoing discussion that we've actually been having for weeks at this point. Is we have really been doing a lot of research on fair tokenomics, equitable distribution, and we've sort of been looking at other projects. And the dilemma that we have is a lot of these projects come out with a token, and then the token just screams to zero. And there's no long-term plan for the token. There's no long-term value for the token. There is a finite number of things that you do with the token. And so, as part of, we say this all the time, we're looking at MoonCats go on without Ponderware. How is that token going to work? So we are potentially, probably very likely at this point, looking at using an existing token rather than trying to design our own and infuse it with value and constantly having to find a new utility for it. But those are conversations that are still ongoing. So know that we are putting a lot of thought into this, which is why we've kind of decided to push out final token decisions to after launch.
Mhm. And that's where, yeah, so that one of tying into the idea of if the contract is all recording all the information on chain, it's less important to have the rewards and what, the outcome, what will happen for the winners set at the very beginning. And that's something that can be then decided a bit further out. And yeah, of it being we definitely want to reward participation and reward and have it be a rewarding experience and a fun experience that if you win, it actually is you know, a benefit and you do get something tangible out of it. And as we've been watching the community of what are the things about when they're asking for token, when will the token launch? Like, what about a token launching would be exciting to you? And is there even better ways that we can provide that benefit of what you're looking forward to for that? That we definitely want to make a rewarding and enriching experience. And if it is launching a new token would simply fragment the ecosystem more into yet another thing you have to keep track of, that seems like it's a little more of a headache than it's what it's worth. So yeah, this aspect of it is one that is definitely on Ponderware as a team's mind. That's still in the we have lots of ways that we can take it, and still deciding which way is the best. The other one that I somewhat alluded to was the L2 solution. That looking at, yes, people do like L2s as a lesser gas and lesser cost for interaction piece, but also looking at the safety piece of if it crashes out, if it turns out to have a bad actor on the node side, how they handle actual 51% tax or whatever security takeovers are susceptible for whatever form of consensus they use. Those are the ones where we're still in the deciding phase of which direction to go. But things like we have decided the feature of our lockbot or of the staking contract to be separate from our application. That one's more set, and that's why we're already moving towards the staking contract being set. And then these other ones, yeah, those are the two big ones of the L2 question mark and ERC20 token question mark are the ones of there's many directions that could be done and still locking in which direction is the best.
And then there was sort of a broader question of how does GravBall tie into the other pieces of the MoonCat ecosystem? We have been very anxious to move from lootprints as a blueprint to an actual spaceship. And that is going to be really important because GravBall is the simulation. Deep space is going to be the real thing, getting into your spaceship and having it transform into its secondary form. So deep space is not a game, but it definitely has some pretty strong gamification. And I think if I say anything more personally,
I was like, yeah, you're getting close to a line there.
So second half of the questions that people threw at us, there was a big question around does GravBall depend upon the Coinbase NFT platform launching? And the answer, just like it was on the previous screen, there's a but. So no, it is not dependent upon the Coinbase NFT platform launching, but some of the prizes we're considering are going to be exclusive to Coinbase. I'm sure the chat is going crazy. I just a moment. Another question people asked, are accessories going to work with GravBall? Oh, I just realized I moved around this slide. So that parentheses doesn't make sense anymore.
More earlier in this presentation.
Yes, more early in this presentation. We are definitely looking at a fully integrated accessories into games, whether that is having a potential buff for having a specific accessory or a category accessory, or requiring accessories for particular matches. The one thing that I am pretty comfortable saying is if you participate in the beta testing, if you're in season 0, there is going to be an exclusive accessory for you. And we will sort of lay out the requirements for getting that accessory once we have beta testing going. So we are getting pretty close to the end of our Ponderware Presents time, but I definitely want to give you guys a little bit of time to type out some questions in the Ponderware Presents chat channel, and someone other than me is going to have to read them out.
Let's see. Scrolling backward through a few of them, I see the one question of does the staking mechanism allow you to retain control of the specific MoonCat you stake? For example, if you submit MoonCat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the jump port, can I retain control and right to unstake 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So in that sense of control, quote unquote, yes, whoever puts the MoonCat into the jump port, you would be able to remove that specific MoonCat back out of the jump port. So yes, that control you would keep. That's the idea. So yes, this form of staking is the idea that I own MoonCat. For me personally, 1289. That is my special avatar MoonCat. I don't wish to part ways with that MoonCat, but if I want them to go play GravBall, yes, I will put them aside over here and I will get that particular one back out when I unstake. There are indeed other pools. I'm guessing you're thinking of like the NFT20 pool or the NifTX pool, where those applications do also use the term stake, which that's perhaps a little bit of a misnomer that when you put a MoonCat into the NFT20 pool, you also give up ownership of it. You don't necessarily get a guarantee to pull that particular MoonCat back out again. This particular setup, yes, you are remaining the owner of that MoonCat. You would be able to get that particular MoonCat back out again. Are there any plans to diversify the ethnic racial background of the Ponderware team members? I think that's one of we'll be able to take back to the at the moment. I think we aren't hiring. I believe we don't have any open positions at the moment, but that's something that is on our mind and definitely wanting to be uh, an open and fair team for that. I'm not sure. Pause if you wanted to comment on that one, or that's one that we would probably take back to our other team as well.
Yeah. Um, you know, yes.
Let's see. Does NFTX allows retention of MoonCat on a different? No. Yeah, both NFT20 and NifTX, which are both NFT pools. Yeah, the moment you put them into that pool, you lose the guarantee to pull that particular one back out again. You gain a guarantee that you would get at least one of them back out again. Is the way that those applications work. Both NFT20, which is also Nifty Gateway, and NFTX. Both are you get a MoonCat back out again, but not guaranteed to be the one that you put in. Yep. Yep. It's good to clarify. Thanks, Old Tech.
All right, we're gonna wrap up shortly. So if you have any other specific questions around loopball or loopball, GravBall,
I mean, it was already called Sports Ball once. Are we now needing another nickname for the
no.
game? Oh, sure. We got the ringer in the crowd from Tusk Tusk. The functionality of lootprint classes. The idea of that one would be different fields have different obstacles on them. Like a particular pitch may be a bit more rocky, and actually a tank, rolling across the asteroids would be a bit more helpful. In general, cruisers will get you into a match and will at least give you some basic functionality, but probably nothing special. The tanks and subs will give you a little bit of a boost in areas that there are more asteroids or nebulas. And in general, mechs will always give you a boost. And there may be possibilities for individual matches to feature individual classes of loot prints. But in general, those tiers of the the rarity, or rather the amount of loot prints that there's the most cruisers and there's the fewest mechs, also parallels to how much of a intrinsic bonus they would give in the different fields of play.
And nothing stops us from throwing out rules like cruise control. Can only use cruisers in this match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that falls into as a touch point of how some of the trading card games like Magic the Gathering have a basic way to play, but also the community has invented versions like Pauper, which is you must use all common cards in the Magic the Gathering ecosystem, and you may not use the rare or mythic ones. If the community is interested in an all cruisers match where it's a more level playing field and none of the ships actually get an intrinsic bonus, that could definitely be a game match that gets played.
And I mean, for what it's worth, we can also go in the opposite direction. So we could have like a prestige match where you are required to have a Hero Silver loot print in order to enter, or be a Genesis.
The only Genesis match. What would the top prize be for the winning Genesis teams?
Would have to be pretty swag. All right. So I think that is going to wrap things up for this Pondaware Presents. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We hope you guys find these informative and entertaining. We really like this format, so we do plan to continue having presentations like this every other Monday at this time. We find this time seems to be working for quite a number of people. I know it's not perfect for everybody in every situation. We are definitely looking at a place to put these, which is probably going to be the birth of the Pondaware YouTube channel. So please stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody, so much for your questions, for your interest in our continued development in GravBall. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Talk to you later.